Hello everyone. So there is new blog post which has been published to Android developer blogs, which include major changes to orientation as well as resizability APIs in Android 16. So let's go through this. I think this would be a major pain for all Android developers. So what it mentions is that with 3 plus billion Android devices in use globally, the Android system ecosystem is more vibrant than ever. Android mobile apps run on a diverse range of devices, from phones and foldables to tablets, Chromebooks, cars, and most recently XR. Users buy into an into an entire device ecosystem and expect their apps to work across devices. To thrive in this multi-device environment, your app needs to adapt seamlessly to different screen sizes and form factors. Many Android apps rely on user interface approaches that work in a single orientation and restrict resizability. However, users want apps to make use of their large screen, so Android device manufacturers added well-received features that override this app restriction. With this in mind, Android 16 is removing the ability for apps to restrict orientation and resizability at the platform level and shifting to a consistent model of adaptive apps that seamlessly adjust to different screen sizes and orientation. This change will reduce fragmentation with behavior that better meets user expectation and improves accessibility by respecting the user's preferred orientation. We are building tools, libraries, and platform APIs to help you do this, to provide a consistently excellent user experience across the entire ecosystem. What's changing? Starting with Android 16, we are phasing out manifest attributes and runtime APIs used to restrict an app's orientation and resizability, enabling better user experience for many apps across devices. This change will initially apply when the app is running on a large screen, where large screen means the smaller dimension of the display is greater than or equal to 600 dp. This includes inner display of large screen foldables, tablets including desktop windowing, desktop environments including Chromebooks. The following manifest attributes and APIs will be ignored for apps targeting Android 16 SDK 36 on large screen: screen orientation, portrait, reverse portrait, sensor portrait, user portrait, landscape, reverse landscape, sensor landscape, and user landscape. Then set requested orientation as well: portrait, reverse portrait, sensor portrait, user portrait, landscape, reverse landscape, sensor landscape, and user landscape. Resizable activity: all mean aspect ratio, all max aspect ratio, all. There are some exceptions to these changes for controlling orientation, aspect ratio, and resizability. As mentioned before, these changes won't apply for screens that are smaller than width 600 dp. Example: most phones, flippables, outer displays on large screen foldables. Games will be excluded from this change based on the Android app category flag. So this is very important if you are developing a game, so you won't have all this pain. But I think Android developers, native Android app developers, will have this pain. Also, user have control. They can explicitly opt in to using the app's default behavior in the aspect ratio settings. Get ready for this change by making your app adaptive. Apps that will need to support landscape and portrait mode layouts for window sizes in the full range of aspect ratio that users can choose to use apps in, as there will no longer be a way to restrict the aspect ratio and orientation to portrait or to landscape. To test if your app will be impacted by these changes, use the Android 16 Beta 1 developer preview with the Pixel Tablet and Pixel Fold series emulators in Android Studio, and either set target SDK preview equal to Baklava, or use the app compatibility framework by enabling the universal resizable by default flag. For existing apps that restrict orientation and aspect ratio, these changes may result in problems like overlapping layout. To solve this issue and meet user expectation, our vision is that apps are built to be adaptive, to provide an optimal experience whether someone is using the app on a phone, foldable, tablet, Chromebook, XR, or in a car. Resolving common problems: avoiding stretched UI components. If layouts were designed and built with the assumption of phone screens, then app functionality may break for other aspect ratio. For example, if a layout was built assuming a portrait aspect ratio, then UI elements that fix the max width of the window will appear stretched. In landscape oriented modes, if layouts aren't built to scroll, then user may not be able to click on buttons or other UI elements that are off screen, resulting in confusing or broken behavior. Add a max width to components to avoid stretching and add scrolling to ensure all content is reachable. Ensure camera compatibility in both orientation. Camera viewfinder previews might assume a specific aspect ratio and orientation relative to the camera sensor, resulting in stretching or flipped previews. When those assumptions are broken, ensure viewfinders rotate properly and account for the UI aspect ratio differing from the sensor aspect ratio. Preserve state across when window size changes. Removing orientation and aspect ratio restriction also means that the window sizes of apps will change more frequently in response to how the user prefers to use an app, such as by rotating, folding, or resizing an app in multi-window or free-form windowing modes. Orientation changes and resizing will result in activity creation by default. To ensure a good user experience, it is critical that an app state is preserved through this configuration changes so that users don't lose their place in the app. When changing posture or changing windowing modes to account for different window sizes and aspect ratio, use window size classes to drive layout behavior in a way that doesn't require device specific customization. App should also be built with assumption that window sizes will frequently change. It's not necessary to build duplicate orientation specific layouts. Instead, ensure your existing UIs can relay out well no matter what the window size is. If you have a landscape or portrait specific mode, those layouts will still be used. Optimizing for window size by building adaptive. If you are already building adaptive layouts and supporting all orientation, you are set up for success, as your app will be prepared for each of the device types and windowing mode your users want to use your app in, and these changes should have a minimum impact. We have also got a range of testing resources to help you guarantee reliability. You can automate testing with tools like Espresso testing and Jetpack Compose testing APIs. Flip-a-clip is a great example of why building for multiple form factors mattered. They saw 54% growth in tablet users in the 4 months after they optimized their app to be adaptive. Timeline: we understand that these changes are significant for apps that have traditionally only supported portrait orientation. UI issues like button going off screen, overlapping content, or screens with camera viewfinders may need adjustment. To help you plan ahead and make the necessary adjustment, here is a planned timeline outlining when these changes will take effect. Android 16 2025 changes described above will be the baseline experience for large screen devices. Small screen width greater than 600 dp for apps that target API level 36 with the option for developers to opt out. Android release in 2026 changes described above will be the baseline experience for large developer screen devices. Small screen width greater than 600 dp for apps that target API level 37. Developers will not have an option to opt out. The deadline for targeting a specific API level are App Store specific. For Google Play, the plan is that targeting API 36 will be required in August 2026 and targeting API 37 will be required in August 2027. Preparing for Android 16, refer to the Android 16 changes page for all changes impacting apps in Android 16, as well as the additional resources for updating your apps if you are impacted. To test your app, download Android 16 Beta 1 Developer Preview and update the target SDK preview equal to Baklava, or use the app compatibility framework to enable specific changes. We are committed to helping developer embrace this new era of adaptive apps and unlock the full potential of their apps across the diverse Android ecosystem. Check out the do's and don'ts for designing and building across multiple window sizes and form factor, as well as how to test across the variety of devices that your app will be used in. Stay tuned for more updates and resources as we approach the release for Android 16. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.